Can you win FPL without Salah and without Haaland? Let's find out. Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast. My name's Adam. I'm joined by Baker, but we also welcome someone back who's been a couple of years away, the FPL General. Mark, how are you?
Good to be back, lads. I'm very well. Looking forward to the new season. Yeah, it's been overdue getting back on the Above Average. I listen most weeks, so it's nice to get back on. Really enjoyed your pre-season one with JC. Broke it up into pieces because it was long, but so much good information in there. I've met JC a couple of times, so it was a good lesson. So yeah, you're absolutely flying with the podcast. I'm a big fan, and it's nice to be here.
Is this hat trick? I think this is maybe a hat trick ball time. I think it might be.
I'll keep an eye on the postman then next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Keep an eye on the postman.
Definitely.
But yeah, we didn't get to do it. We talked about it a lot last season, sorting something out, but we really struggled with it. So good to be back. Not long.
Exactly. I know it was. I was chatting to Adam trying to get a time and a date organised, and it's, as you know, work, kids, crazy 2-year-old here. It's not easy, but I'm glad we made it work.
Yeah.
Not long to go, though. Not long to go. Just over 2 weeks now. It feels like we were waiting for ages, and it did feel like the game was a touch late, but it almost feels like it's almost just on our doorstep now, and there's not much time left.
Feels like it's just going to be upon us before we know it. We're going to have that Friday night fixture in a couple of weeks' time, and we're probably going to feel like we didn't have enough time to tinker because we've definitely had less than previous. But yeah, I mean, sooner the better. Pre-season, I do love pre-season for tinkering and drafts and all that kind of stuff, but give us the games and let's get started.
You've made a big decision.
I have.
Rip the Band-Aid off. We all think about this time of the season. Are we like, it's now our new thing in it since start last season? Are you a Haaland person? Are you a Salah person? Are you both? Or are you neither? And you're neither.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been playing this game for a very long time. Since day one. I think 2002, 2003 was the first iteration of what we have now. As a 12, 13-year-old, I've been here ever since. Not serious every season, of course, and dipped in and out, but very serious, of course, been playing it, full-time job for the last 8 years now, and everything that comes with that. And towards the end of last season, probably a month or two towards the end of last season, I started kind of exploring the idea of doing something differently this year. I just had a Word document during the summer. Anything that popped into my head, I would stick it on the Word document, playing, without, one player from each team, for example, or, maximum of 10 million players, not using the chips, loads of different stuff. And I got good suggestions as well. But I've decided the easiest one is just go without the two most expensive players in the game. Free up 28.5 million and have a, very flexible season in terms of team structure and bench and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like you can still be competitive if you don't have the two expensive guys. And just as a fun experiment, but mainly just to give myself a bit of a breather. I want to focus on, content probably more so this season, rather than worrying about overall rank and mini leagues and stuff like that. So I'm hoping I can take the pressure off, go back to enjoying games a lot more, because I probably haven't enjoyed them as much last couple of seasons with just, you're laser focused on your own players and what players you don't have and all that kind of stuff. So just want to do something different. I was never going to take a season off. Maybe I would have if I wasn't, if this didn't pay the bills. It's hard to take a season off when it pays the bills. So just something different. And I'm really looking forward to it. I feel more relaxed going into the season than ever before. I'm really enjoying pre-season. I'm loving all the content. And I just have a clear, it's once I've committed to it now, I've got a clear mind. And, building drafts is easy because you've got loads of money. So it's good fun so far. Game week 4, I could be 9 million and pulling my hair out. But for now, it feels good.
I think at the same time, though, I think it's one thing every week we turn up and we go, like, we know we're always going to be missing players. So even players that are playing with Haaland or Salah or both are going to be missing a Palmer, a Saka, and there will be players that we'll all miss, like Isak and everything. So, I think committing to, knowing what your pain is going to be every week and just being like, that's the game. I think it's just easier. Just mentally, it's just easier to accept. And then you can celebrate the blanks every time. You can celebrate it massively.
The 1 or 2 game weeks where they both blank over the season will be I'll be out throwing parties those Sunday nights for all the others who don't have them. Yeah, do you know what? A lot of it as well comes down to just last couple of years and probably for a long time in FPL, everyone's teams end up looking very similar. And like everyone else, I post my team on social media, 11:01 after the deadline on a Saturday, and then you just have a quick scroll through what others are doing. But there's almost no point in doing that anymore, especially in the second half of the season, because there's one or two differences. Everyone uses the same captain. Everyone's influenced by FPL review, even those who say they don't. Everyone's influenced by the new way of playing FPL. And I like the idea of just going into every weekend knowing that I'll have at least two or three different players, and I'll very often have a different captain. Just feels exciting before a ball's kicked.
And Mark, look, you are competitive. Let's not pretend that you're not competitive in this world. You've got, good ranks for a reason. I think there is ways in which this season is slightly better than, let's just say, last season. We've got a lot of money being spent. Just in the general transfer market, there's a lot of money starting to be spent and continuing to be spent. And we've got another month yet, the transfer window. It's definitely not closed. If, for example, obviously Isak moves, then it's, Liverpool now have another £10 million striker, but then Newcastle go by Seshko and so forth, and whoever that turns up. So we end up with more expensive players sitting in the league. We've just had Gyökeres signed, so that's another guy come into it. So you've got ingredient one, which is in order for it to be successful, you have to have alternatives. And then you've got ingredient two, which is that they've made changes to the game, and none of them, not a single change benefits Salah, and not a single change benefits Haaland. Changes to bonus don't impact those two people in a positive light. Changes in terms of defensive contributions don't impact those two people. So I'm not saying defensive contributions catch up Salah or defensive contributions catch up Haaland, but they don't distance the pack from them. They do bring the pack slightly more to them. And therefore, if you can then spread that money around in terms of maximizing all of these things across different ways and have these kind of more £8 to £10 million players, it is the ingredients where I think JC said it to us on that earlier pod is if you want to win leagues, if you want to win FPL, this is a way in which you can do it because you're a small part of the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the idea. Yeah, it's just I am the most boring, vanilla manager there ever has been. You can, people, when I play a normal game, people can predict what my team is going to be every week. You can predict my transfers and my captain very easily. I very, very rarely go against the grain, and I like the idea of just being a late riser type for a season, and seeing how it goes. And one thing you didn't mention there as well is just the price. Salah's more expensive than he's ever been, and that adds pressure to him as an asset. We know how amazing he is and consistent he is, but he's not going to score the points he got last year. It would be insane if he did the same again. So yeah, there's that as well. Haaland doesn't really scare me that much because there's always other striker options. We've seen it last year with the cheap guys, Chris Wood and all those. Cunha were so good. Isak, wherever he's playing, is a great option. Gyökeres, I really like now as well. That's a good transfer for my strategy because it's another option because I don't want to rely, overly on the likes of Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka and these guys, maybe Bruno Fernandes for captaincy. So it feels fun, and I think captaincy will be the scary and challenging part. But again, I'm looking forward to every weekend of football now. I'm going to be watching more games than ever, and yeah, it just feels right for me at this point in time.
It's definitely a piece that he's that Salah's Liverpool and Haaland's City and you're United, so it all sits kind of nicely there as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see this, but the main man's on the back.
There he is.
He's going to be in. I think he's going to be in a lot of teams anyway. Fixtures maybe not fantastic to start the season with, but I really like the Cunha and Mbeumo signings. More firepower to convert Bruno's chance creation, which has been an issue last couple of years, and we know that he does well in the new scoring system as well. Even if he plays deeper, we're not going to be overly concerned. So yeah, I think I'm going to be more pro Manchester United FPL wise this year as well. Usually I'm very pessimistic, but playing with a bit more freedom, I can maybe play with my heart a bit more than I have done previously.
Be nice to get back to that, wouldn't it, Baker, after last year for us as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it would be nice to pick some Tottenham players. It would be nice to pick some Tottenham players. We still need to see a little bit. Still need to see him. We need to get him on the pitch.
I was going to say they're all getting injured.
Yeah. But you looking forward to Man United this season?
Yeah. Like I said, those two signings in particular, we know, two FPL favourites. We all enjoy watching Mbeumo and Cunha, two fantastic players. Cunha in particular, I'm really excited about. I think he can go, a lot higher than Manchester United in the game, to be fair. So hopefully it's not just a stepping stone for him, but I'm expecting big things there, loads of goals, and yeah, no Europe. To deal with, which is huge because if you've got a manager that has a full week and we see that across many fantasy formats, that if you've got a team that can just prepare for their opposition at the weekend when the other opposition maybe is away in Europe or have got other distractions or travel, it's huge. So I'm much more pro United, both attack, maybe not so much defensively to begin with, but certainly got eyes on the likes of Maguire and Euro at 4.5 and maybe even Dorgu as well. I know centre backs are all in vogue, but maybe a Dorgu could be a good option as a wing back as well. So yeah, I expect to own more United players this season than I have done in the last few.
Marvellous.
Yep.
Adam, what we're doing?
Well, we're going to go to our usual admin. So if you do enjoy what we're doing, you may have seen I posted, probably by now, it might have changed by now, but at time of posting, we were on 9,941 subscribers, which means there's only 59, which is fantastic, left until 10,000, which is amazing. So if you'd like to, see more of us, then please do hit that subscribe button. If you like the content, this content specifically, hit the like button on the video. Let us know in the comments what you're thinking about your teams. Let us know whether you think maybe no Salah, no Haaland is a good idea, or if it's a terrible, terrible idea, put it in the comments as well. Shout out to obviously to Mark, to FPL General. Go follow him on all socials. I'm sure you are anyway. And go check out his Patreon as well. Talking of patrons, you can head over and support us, patreon.com/aboveaveragefpl. And right now there is 25% off, and that's on the annual memberships. So you can come and join us over in the Discord. Plenty of games going on, lots of chat, lots of new people. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. We've got pretty much secured on the Never Say Die whiskey giveaway again for this season. Just looking for final confirmation of that. And then we've got some gin to give away and mugs galore, normal stuff. QR code on the screen. If you're listening on podcast, then please do drop a comment, rate 5 stars, all that good stuff. Shout out to Dan, Crypto Block Dan. He's our friend. He is our angel investor. I noticed that it's not quite there for the screen. I fixed it. If you want to check out Dan is a blockchain angel investor. He's an NFT collector. He's been in the crypto space and blockchain space for near on 13 years now. And if you have interest in that and you want to catch some of Dan's time, you can head over to hubble.social/Dan Hybel and grab as little as 15 minutes with Dan for $40. And he can answer your questions. We can't answer them. He's there to answer those questions. So shout out to Dan. Dan supports us. We support Dan. Thank you to you, mate. And then a final bit is join our mini league. The code for people listening, 1WTCH2. That is the code to join the mini league. There were over 5,500 people in there last year, which is pretty good, as I say, because we shut the league off at the end of game week 19 because we don't want those latecomers in the top 5, top 10, whatever, just bombing into leagues at the end. I don't know whether you saw at the end of last season, the world number 1 entered KSI's 50,000 top prize league in game week 37. Like, you don't get that kind of crap with us. You have to be in by game week 19.
Did he get 50 grand?
I have no idea whether he got paid it, but he dropped in.
That's what KSI was offering, wasn't it? He was offering 50 grand to win his league.
50 grand top of the thing. And then just left it open, which is mental. But yeah, that's all the admin there. 1WTCH, 2 in by game week 19. Got plenty of time. Get on it.
All right.
Well, we can go straight into... We're going to look at defenders, mids, forwards quickly with Mark, and then we're going to have a look at those sought after no Salah, no Haaland drafts. Because in the background, we've had a quick look ourselves, Mark. Don't worry, and we've put a couple together just to see what you think.
Yeah, what you got here is Scout have done some really good work on reconfiguring the bonus, what it was versus what's the new, change of position, what does that mean, defensive contributions, and on here on the defenders list, you've just got some on here where ranked by the new points totals of what they would have achieved, that are pretty significant gains. Pretty significant gains. So if you look at them, the top two defenders last season would have been the Forest boys, Milenkovic and Murillo. Virgil van Dijk is in there, 164 points. You've got, I guess the first thing is you've got some players over 150 points in defence that are not in teams that historically to get over 150 points as a defender, you kind of had to be like a fly. Either you took penalties or something, like remember the other Unsworth and Baines and guys like that, like historically, or you had to be in one of the big teams because you had to have clean sheets, plus you had to have attacking returns. We used to see it from Robbo, Trent, Alonso, guys like that. Whereas here, I'm like, well, what are the players over 150? Milenkovic, Murillo, Virgil van Dijk, Danny Munoz, Nathan Collins, James Tarkowski, and then knocking on the door was Maxence Lacroix. Does this change, Mark, how you feel about defenders in general?
I think it has to change how we all feel about defenders. It's it's a massive change to the game, and just kind of think of the bigger picture, and you think ahead to game week 38, and they do the interview with the overall winner, and you look at his team, and it's 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, and wouldn't surprise me this season if we're talking at the end of the season that four at the back or maybe even five at the back, unconventional, but over 38 game weeks, those extra 2 pointers are going to make a big difference in our overall points tally. So we definitely need to readjust. I think it would be silly not to. Obviously, quite a few of the guys who performed well last season here have got price hikes, but I don't think they've jumped as high that puts them out of reach. And I think it's really hard to actually pick defenders for game week 1 because it's all unknown to us. Yes, we've got information from last season, but it's only one season's worth of info. Nottingham Forest are probably not going to be as good defensively as they were last year. Other teams will emerge that we don't know about that will, populate this list at the end of the season. So it's trying to figure out which players are going to be on this list at the end, which is quite tricky. But yeah, definitely going to change my thoughts. And, looking at this list, we'll see my draft soon. There's quite a few guys near the top of the list that are in my latest draft. And again, not having Salah or Haaland maybe opens the door for someone like me to have Murillos and Tarkowskis when maybe others won't go there because they're trying to shoehorn, expensive midfielders and attackers in. So again, it's another reason why it feels like a good season to be different because I could maybe tap into the changes more than others, certainly to begin with, and then readjust. So yeah, it's a game changer for sure.
Tarko's so interesting because obviously that you've got the added overlay of he's been injured. He's gone on America tour. He's not played minutes yet. Like if he starts playing minutes now, and then you're like, well, that's comfortably time enough that I'm like, yeah, Tarko suddenly just looks incredible. But the closer it gets to the deadline and he's not playing 90 minutes in games, the more you're going to look at it. I think people are going to look at it and think, oh, I'm not so sure. You've obviously got Branthwaite, you've got O'Brien there. They did a good job at the back end of last season at centre back. So he's definitely one for me where I'm like, if he's playing, does it just make a huge amount of sense when you see 44? Like I said, he effectively starts at 3.5 points.
Yeah, it's a big base. It's a big base, and that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. These guys, are we just overthinking it by not just getting them in from the start because they've got the extra points potential? When they get the extra points, the chances are they're going to do well on the bonus, and clean sheets, of course, might be few and far between with some of these teams, but they're going to get 10, 11 points very often. And for 5.5, I don't think that's a crazy price to pay.
It's going to be a place where you want to not be spending any transfers either. You want to kind of lock these guys in and just kind of leave them alone. So I can see, the more we delve into like the 4.5 guys, the more I can see us trying to rotate through fixtures, rotate around, and then you go, well, this player's not performing as well as he should be, and you're like, maybe I can just squeeze a little bit here and I'll make a transfer. Whereas, some of these guys you can just lock in for long periods of time, and it doesn't really matter. I know there was some bits on, where players got most of their defensive contributions, whether they were against top half teams and bottom half teams. Generally, it wasn't too bad. Like there wasn't such a huge divergence, right, between the two. So, you know, if you think, oh, I'll get Tarko for the good fixtures, well, you can have him for the good fixtures because he'll get them there, and he'll have him for the bad fixtures because he'll get them there as well. I think something like 26 out of those 44, maybe. I might be completely wrong here, but so let's say it's like 26 and 18. Like, that's not huge in terms of playing against the top side. So it's not massive. So I think I'm probably going to have a couple of guys that I'm probably just going to never want to move.
Yeah. And this list here, this is selected defenders that have had significant gains. This isn't just a list of all the defenders by points. So this doesn't include the Arsenal guys, which still were okay. You know, obviously Gabriel didn't actually end up playing the full season, but every week that Gabriel was fit last season, he was in my team. And I'm looking at Arsenal in particular, and that's my one thing of they're the best. We know they're the best defense. They've signed Zubimendi, so they've got now, you know, a big upgrade in terms of a defensive midfielder, because, you know, we know as we saw last season, Rice played a lot more of that left 8 type position. I think now in those tougher games, you know, they won't need necessarily Marino to play number 9 this season. So, you know, actually they've really bolstered those guys by having Marino as almost what he was bought for, as a tall guy in centre midfield, and Zubimendi as a guy that sits at the base.
Well, Norgard's going to support that as well, right? So he's not even going to need to. He's not even going to need to drop in like the last 20 of games and stuff like that to sit back. If he's, you know, if he's fine, then he can just.
I mean, they're so big, aren't they? You put Norgard and Marino like on the pitch, for example. Like if those two, say for example, start on the bench and then come off, like we saw last season, guys like Jorginho comes on, but those guys come in, you're like, well, I can't lump the ball into the box with those guys. Massive.
Yeah, big difference between a Jorginho and a Norgard to, you know, come on to shore things up for the last 15 minutes. So again, I'm like you. I don't think I've got an Arsenal defender in my latest draft, but I think if Gabriel's fully fit come game 81, it's very hard not to just plug him in again as a long-term set and forget. Yeah, he might not get as many 2-pointers as some of the cheaper guys, but you know, just think back, every single corner they take when he's on the pitch is just designed to get him on the end of it, and he can get you 4 or 5 goals. And we know the clean sheets will be there. So it's even with all the other defenders getting a bump in terms of points potential, I still find it very hard not to pick Gabriel.
Yeah, I do. And maybe Raya's still the way in defence. Maybe
I can't do that again.
Yeah.
No, I was there for too long last season, I think.
What about guys like Lacroix versus Danny Munoz?
Really, really difficult. And these are the decisions that I think are great this season with the changes, because we all love Daniel Munoz. You watch a Palace game, he's in the box. He's basically a forward when they've got the ball. And I watched back a couple of goals from last season, and he's just an absolute monster machine. And he doesn't do too badly. Defensive contribution as well. I think it was maybe around 7.5, whereas Lacroix was, you know, slightly over 10 per game. But again, there's only 0.5 in the difference, and Lacroix does really stand out when you look at the changes when you compare it to last season. So I think that's a really difficult one. But for me, it'll probably just come down to absolutely loving Daniel Munoz as an asset. And do you want to count blocks and interceptions, or do you want to watch Daniel Munoz getting in the box for 0.5 extra? And I think that one's maybe a little bit easier than the others. Maybe, you know, the Forest one's maybe trickier because, you know, Nico Williams and Aina are good assets in their own right, but in the centre backs are 0.5 more. And I think that's really hard to pick a Forest defender.
I think that is hard. Yeah, I think there is parts when you're watching them. There is that part. I was speaking to Zoff from the Y the other week about. He's like, I like the dopamine hit. I like the my player scored type stuff. I don't know if I'm like that 2 point of, oh, okay, yeah, I got good points from that. I like it.
Well, that's it. He posted, didn't he? He posted a thing saying like, what would you prefer, like 4-4-4-4-4, or would you like 2-2-5-9-2? Like, and they come to the same, but which one would you prefer? Would you like the 2 returns with the 9-pointer, or would you like the 4 points every week? Like, how would that make? I think it's more a question about how would that make you feel, and rather than anything, because the outcome is exactly the same.
Yeah,
and I think I'd prefer the spiky one personally.
Yeah, it almost feels like an analytics versus grass question, because I think analytics folks will be after looking for the 4-4-4, Whereas those are sitting, idiots like us who sit down and watch games. We want the dopamine hit, whereas the robots don't need that. So yeah, it's a good question though, and it does make you think about things. But for me, I do
Really
watch
does.
games, and I am not any 50-50 decision that comes down to defensive contributions or attacking returns. I'm going to go attacking returns.
It doesn't help when Lacroix scores yesterday, by the way, just in case.
Just
Sorry.
yeah, don't tell me that. I didn't even know that.
He
Muno
did
scored.
score
Muno
yesterday.
scored last week, so
They played two split friendlies yesterday, where sort of like half the team in each of them. Mateta scored in the first one, and good work from Saar, I think, and then Mateta scored. But yeah, Lacroix did score in the second game.
yeah, and even then, Richards even does quite well in the defensive contributions,
Yeah,
and
yeah, he's 4.5, and I think so. Richards isn't on here, and Gay's not on here, but they both are decent. And I think if Gay moved, everyone's going to go, well, I'll go where Gay goes, almost to an extent with him. But it makes Richards a bit potentially.
yeah, I think that's key. If Gahey does leave, then I think that propels Richards to on a par with Munoz Lacroix in the conversation
Mm,
because you're saving the money. And I think what I looked at that Richards was higher last season points,
yeah.
def cons per game than Gahey. So yeah, Richards could be a bit of a sleeper pick.
They did on both those split friendlies yesterday play 3-4, like the 3-4-2-1 formation. So I think that we will get that from them again, which again says Munoz plays wing back, where we'll play the centre backs they've
Yeah.
got. It does suggest if they sell Gay, they're going to have to buy people um, in order to do it. But again, if they're playing three centre backs, it feels good for Richards. I don't know why. Something about it for me, I feel like I definitely in my brain can't get myself around to it, and I feel similar. He's on this list at the bottom here, but Trevor Chalobah at Chelsea, like Chalobah played a lot of minutes towards the back end of last season for Chelsea, a huge number of minutes. And he ended up with, with the adjustments here because his defensive contributions were pretty good, 111 points from 23 starts.
It's a
Uh,
lot of
that's
points.
that's just under 5 points per start. That's in line with even that though. 5 points per start for Tarko, 5 points per start for all the guys above him, effectively in these senses. Same on Chalobah. Like it's a lot of points.
I think this is the challenging part. It's almost like, especially if you play in FPL for any number of years, more than one or two, that we need to reprogram ourselves over the next 2 weeks because, you
Mm,
scroll through any list of FPL defenders when you're trying to pick one, you see Chalobah's name, you always just skirt over it. Same with, a lot of these players on the list. Nathan Collins is another one. But
mm,
we've got to think, very, very carefully about these defenders and
yeah.
the cheap midfielders as well, because it's a different game now.
Um, let's move off defenders. I feel like we're always I feel like these changes mean we're just going to talk about defenders every single game. But hey, let's go talk about defensive midfielders. They're much more exciting. Um, yeah. Well, I don't know if we had to spend a huge amount of time, but we had a quick look at from last season of again similar world of with the key beneficiaries for defensive contribution points and bonus based on the changes that we've seen. And I think my big takeaway is the change of adding in tackles for bonus and what the other little parts to it didn't make hardly any difference to the bonus for midfielders. It doesn't really do much to it. The only person on here that loses is Iliman Jai, and he loses because he changed position, so he gets less for the goals. Other than that, bonus is really unaffected. So it's not like centre backs and full backs are something nicking midfielders because midfielders actually just do make quite a bit of tackles anyway, so it's not a big problem for them. From a defensive contribution points, what I guess we can see is the big name central midfielders from all of the big teams is quite a sustainable position now. And so you've got Bruno at 193, Bruno Guimaraes at 151, Declan Rice at 146, Alexis McAllister 146, Caicedo at 141. I do think to myself, Rodri the season before, I think got 18 attacking returns in the season.
Insane.
Yeah, I mean, Rodri's just one that I've just I feel like I'd like to have him ahead of everybody else having him, because he'll just turn up, score a goal, rack up 2 defensive point contributions, and everyone just goes, oh shit, yeah, that's why he won the Ballon d'Or.
So
That's why he won the
obvious.
Ballon d'Or.
Just the best player in the fucking world.
Like good players from good teams that are nailed.
The question is
I
he though?
do.
Is he going to be? I mean, I know he's the best player in the world coming back from an injury. Is he nailed with the transfers that they've made? Are they? Is that not just a? Is that also a way to maybe reduce his minutes and stress on his legs? Is it a way to prepare themselves for because discussions are about him leaving as well. There's also discussions about him leaving. So
Yeah.
like, are they preparing?
It wouldn't surprise me if on FPL review he turns up at like 85 minutes or something like that on his things, and suddenly
Just in every team.
it really
I'm
wouldn't surprise me.
I'm not. I've been on FPL review for the last 2 seasons, but just in a very minor way. I'm an eye test manager first, but I'm always keen to see what others are doing and what other information is out there. But I'm really interested to see the shift that happens in the next week or two when FPL review goes live, because I think drafts are going to get ripped up and people like Rodri will start appearing, and a lot of the players that are good for defensive contributions will be showing up. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Just on Rodri as well, I think it does come with a bit of fear with the new signings, and I think any player coming back from an ACL, if there's any chance to lighten the load, you're going to do that. So when I think about Rodri, I compare him to someone like Declan Rice with no concerns about minutes and
Yeah.
set pieces and open play goal threat as well. I think Rice is an easier place to start than someone like Rodri. But just on this kind of position in general, let's say the 6.5 midfield bracket, you've got the attacking guys, Matoma and Jai, but then you've got the Declan Rice types, and I think I'm warming to the idea of the set and forget defensive guy instead, because you think back a couple of seasons, people used to always say, why don't you just get Ward-Prowse and keep him for 38 game weeks and he gets you 150 points? But now we've got so many more James Ward-Prowses that can get defensive contributions as well. So
And they're
I
cheaper.
think
Yeah. And they're more sustainable, because we used to talk about often that people used to say set and forget James Ward-Prowse, but the reason why you had to set and forget him was because he was so unpredictable. Because actually he was a 2 or 10 or 2 or 10 or 1 or 15. Like the reason why you had to play him every week was because if you benched him occasionally, you could end up with no points. Whereas this is different now, where it's actually your floor is so high here. I don't know. I think and it might be that all a lot of this depends on your wildcard window. If you're going like game week 7 wildcard and so forth, you might just go, well, I don't really want to chase 4 pointers in game weeks 1 to 6. But if I'm going to go wildcard 7, I'm not going to wildcard again until like game week 34 or something like that. And suddenly I've got to go 20 weeks. And how do I minimize my transfers? Well, I'll have a few more high floor guys. So that's one way you can flex it. But I
yeah,
do think they're better, some of these guys, than we're going to give them credit for. I also think if minutes are uncertain, it's insane now. In my opinion, if the minutes are not certain, I mean, analysts have said that for many, many years, but for me, more so than ever. And so players like Kudus for us, like I still think there needs to be something happen, like Suns goes and we don't sign anybody in replacing for it, some kind of massive call out that says definitely he's going to play. Sounds like Kulusevski might be in like not until next year, so that's another tick. But you need a few things to be like, how certain am I of those minutes? If those minutes are not more than, and then when he plays, you want to see that he doesn't come off on 70 minutes and all those type of stuff. Is I feel like you really need to be certain to go for the fancy guy.
yeah. I think in many ways there's more ways to get points now, but it could make it a more boring game where you need to accept that you won't make as many transfers possibly, which is really hard because it's hard enough only having one or two decisions to make each week. Do I roll? Do I make a transfer? Who do I captain? Who do I bench? But I think the set and forget guys and the extremely patient approach will probably be even better now.
Yeah.
these more boring defensive contribution guys are going to tick along very, very nicely. We always say if you get a player and he ticks along nicely, I'm happy with him. There's loads of them now. And I can see myself just rolling more than ever. I roll a lot anyway, but I think it's much easier to roll now and just you can almost have. I know we've got 2 wildcards, but you can end up having 3 or 4 wildcards this year with the AFCON transfers. You're probably going to have 4 or 5 transfers often if you want to. So yeah, it's annoying in a way because we want flashy players, but I think the effective way to play might be having a good sprinkling of these guys.
Should we get to your draft? Should we just get the draft? Get it out. Get it out for us, Mark.
Our draft, your draft, their draft. What do you want? Mark's draft?
Let's go Mark's draft. That's the one. That's what people want to see.
There's a squad.
Squad.
Read it out for people.
Yeah, just benefit of audio listeners as well. So I'll run through it first and then give a few thoughts. So in goals, Matt Sales at 5 million with a 4 million backup. Valdemarsson for the last season's nostalgia. Defense of Virgil van Dijk, Vardiol, Munoz, Senesi, who I know Baker likes, and 4 million defender yet to be decided. Currently, Ronaldo. If you can't have Ronaldo, you may as well have Ronaldo. Midfield of Cole Palmer, Florian Wirtz, Bruno Fernandes, Morgan Rogers, and a 4.5, currently Ramsey from Burnley. Up front, Ollie Watkins, Gyökeres, and Chris Wood, which is a very nice front line. And I think 0.0 on the bank with this one. So again, just it shows you what you can do without spending 28.5 million on 2 players. You can have a very well-rounded squad. This could be 3-4-3. You could even flip it to a 3-5-2. Chris Wood could become an Eze or something like that. You could take a bit of money out of defence or even put more money into defence. And there's just so much I like about this. The midfield's really exciting. Love the front 3. Munoz, who I really want. You've got the, kind of proven assets in Virgil and Gvardiol, and you can jump anywhere else afterwards because they're most expensive in the game. And I don't really like any of the 4-5 goalkeepers, so I like the idea of spending a bit more on sales on a very, defence first team. So, interested to hear what you guys think about this one.
I guess first of all, my first thing to captain is it almost likely Palmer game week 1, Gyökeres against Leeds game week 2, Bruno Fernandes game week 3? Is that the?
Yeah, I think it would have to be. And to be honest, something I haven't done yet that I will definitely do before the season starts is sit down with first 8, 12, 16 game week fixtures in front of me. Who are the captain options without Salah and Haaland? And that will dictate a lot of my decisions. But
yeah,
there is options. There is options. Palmer, we know. I've got a lot of faith in Palmer. I know he was quiet for a long point last season. I don't expect that to happen again. Bruno, I like more. There's more routes to points. There's more firepower for chance conversion. And, Gyökeres, great fixture against Leeds. And Isak's not here, who could easily be here. When he's got good fixtures, he's a captain. Watkins, when he's got good fixtures. So there's always options. Yes, not the comfort blanket of a Salah or a Haaland when they've got a really good fixture. But even if Wirtz, gets the minutes and start the season well, he's a captaincy candidate. So, of course, I'm fearful. But I like the challenge, and I like that I'm going to have a different captain in most game weeks, based on fixtures and form. So yeah, I'm not too worried. There's plenty of options out there.
Which thoughts, Adam?
I mean, I have no comments. I like how it feels simple to put a team together with all that money. Like, I don't know, did it feel easy to put that team together? Did it feel relatively straightforward?
Yeah, for example, I didn't have Gyökeres and he got added to the game, and I'm thinking, right, I'll just go in and replace Watkins with Gyökeres to see what it feels like. Take Saka out, but I just put both Watkins and Gyökeres in. You can't do that with Haaland, Salah, or even just one of them, or it's a lot harder to do so. And it just feels good. But even though I've got quite a few expensive defenders in here, I really like the cheaper ones as well. We talked about Murillo, Tarkowski, and I could end up even dropping Gvardiol and Virgil down to some of those guys and go, cheap out in defense a bit more. And then, a Saka could come back in for a Wirtz, for example, and just feels a bit more secure. So there's so much you can do. I'm not really keen on bench boost game week 1. I was thinking about doing that before they added the second bench boost, but I don't love the fixtures. I don't love locking money on the bench for a couple of weeks. I'd like to keep the wildcard window as flexible as possible. And I just think with the AFCON transfers, bench boost will be doable at a later date. So I'm not really concerned about that. And I don't like the chip anyway. So I'm just not going to let that dictate my game week 1 decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad. I mean, you've got 17 million. Basically, you've got 17 million on the bench here as it stands with Senesi, Ronaldo, Ramsey and Valdemarsson. So it is really you are putting absolutely everything you can into the rest of the into the team itself. You're trying to squeeze every single penny out of that additional budget, and I think it shows. I think it shows because most people have definitely got a 4-5 starting in defence. You definitely haven't got. Most people are looking at like an Elliot Anderson or a Caicedo or a Rice, whereas you've got Bruno Fernandes, for example, or Rodgers. I mean, take your pick. And most people do have just the second support striker, or they don't have the two premiums. So they're looking at maybe like Watkins, João Pedro, and Wood because they can't get that 1.5 million.
Well, I think most people don't even have 3 forwards.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Most people don't, but if they do, that's the most they're going up to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think most forwards like I've seen, very rarely do they have anyone over 7.5 million.
Yeah,
like just can't. As soon as you do Salah and Palmer, because Salah and Palmer is definitely the most popular combination you see, you're suddenly like, oh, okay. Suddenly
Welbeck, Beto.
Welbeck's, Beto's, definitely. Solanke's in loads and is still injured.
Strand Larson I like as well.
Strand Larson's there, and they're all there, and you can have more of them. Like you can quite easily, once you get yourself to 2 free transfers, isn't it? Is swap out a Watkins to one of those cheaper guys when they're established, and hey, guess what? Rodgers becomes Saka, for example, or something like that. You know, is you can really dial some of these ones up. But I found it very interesting once I start playing with it. I now don't want to Turk certain people out. Like I want Jarrod Bowen. I feel very up on what I saw from him against the United friendly the other day. But you're like 8 million. I don't understand where I'm getting the money from it with Salah in my team. Watkins hasn't got the Duran competition. Fixtures just get better and better really through the first 5 games.
Easy pick. I feel for Game Week 1.
Just feels easy. But it's 9 million quid. Once you get Salah, Palmer, and Watkins, everything else suddenly is like, oh my God, where do I take some more money out from this now? You really struggle to get some Arsenal in your team. Certainly if you've got those 3, you've suddenly got to go, I'm going to have Rice. When everyone else has Gyökeres, I'm going to have Rice instead of Saka and so forth. And it does still feel to me quite a big old drop.
And you look at this team as well, it very easily becomes Gvardiol goes Tarkowski and Chris Wood is Jarrod Bowen if I want it. You know, it's very, very flexible. I am quite keen on Van Dijk long term. I would just love to have him all season because I think you're guaranteed a good return there. So the Gvardiol position is probably more up for grabs than the Van Dijk one. You know, it could be Gabriel or it could be someone cheaper. Don't think I'll take the risk on 8 Murray to begin with. Just see how Pep uses them and how often he uses them. But again, you know, I look at Van Dijk, Gvardiol, Munoz, and then I just think about all these 4-5s and 5s, Lacroix. You know, there's loads of 4-5s that can score really, really well. So it's like, will I even gain from putting more money in defence? Because there's so much points potential elsewhere.
I don't know. I think they're good. I think the good defenders are really good. Senesi was one I looked at yesterday. I was quite hot on Senesi. Summarise, did an article on our Patreon. It's free. Anyone can go look at it if they want to. But I remember that 23-24 season, Senesi, he was such a goal threat, huge goal threat. He got booked a lot, but he was a huge goal threat. And we were all counting down, waiting for that double game week of would he make it or not. Adam, do you remember what you did? Where you went, well, then you go like a week early and then the next week had to transfer him to Zabani.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah,
so that was the fun with it because he did his hamstring in like the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
But and then since then he hardly came back. Only played like a dozen games or so last season. But he didn't score last season. Secondly, when he did play, he played alongside Zabani and he didn't really get the defensive contributions. Now, Howson was getting them for fun, like 70% of his games. And I was like, well, if he just takes Howson's defensive contributions, then this is the best 4.5 in the game, especially when we know he can score. But I'm now a little bit like, well, he didn't score when he played last season. He didn't get the defensive contributions when he played last season. And my big worry about him is that he's out of contract next summer. And I haven't seen any English reports on it, but you do the old translate post. If you go check Juventus and Senesi, there's a few Italian reporters reporting that Juve are after him. So that's just my I need to keep watching this. But if they sell Zabani to PSG, well, one, that might just make them terrible because they've sold Zabani
I was going to
and
say
they've sold
the big,
Howson and they've
and they've sold Kirkes.
Kirkes and they've changed keeper.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
But
Maybe not the best place to go for a defender.
it's just a lot of red flags in there. But in the back of my mind, thinking, yeah, but what if he's incredible?
Yeah, and again, I was looking. I think he was when he played last season per 90 something like 9 point something for defense contribution. So
Yeah.
and if you can, like you say, if you can just take some of what Hudson was doing, obviously different profile of a player. Hudson's a monster, so that probably helped him get the clearances and all that
70%
kind
of his
stuff.
games, he would have got that defensive. Like he would have been
Yeah,
in all. I'd love to know what had been priced if it had stayed.
yeah, 5-5 surely. Maybe even nah, they wouldn't push him to 6 surely, but yeah, the. I just like Bournemouth. That's a lot of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They're certainly capable of clean sheets as well. So I'm definitely going to have at least one 4-5 defender, and Senesi's definitely in the running.
It's good. Double Villa, Rodgers. I don't think again, Rodgers is one where I don't think a lot of people can get to. It's the guys that sit just under that in terms of the price.
Yeah, I think Rodgers is number one fixtures. If I'm going for Watkins for fixtures, I'm going for Rodgers for the same reasons. But a lot of people, myself included, we get put off by price hikes. Rodgers was 5.5 last season. I think he was maybe even was he 5? Yeah,
Five,
crazy to think of that now. You get put off because he's 2 million more expensive. But I think I always ask myself, can he do the same thing again? And with Rodgers, he definitely can. I just think he's an unbelievably good player and could just continue getting better and better. And obviously plays such a central role in the Villa attack. Himself and Watkins could easily assist each other fairly often.
I say a lot's changed in that Villa attack because obviously Rashford's not there and Asensio's not there as well. So, Marlon could be in and around it and Tielemans could be as well. But Rodgers is going to be the mainstay, right? Like last year was the audition, and like this year he's like front and center star man. I know he played like basically every minute last year, but this feels like big boy territory now.
Did you see the goal he scored in pre-season?
No.
He came off the bench, so he didn't start, came off the bench, and he scored a through ball tap in from like 2 yards, and you're like, oh, getting in behind, scoring from like 2 yards out. You're like, yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing you want to see.
Yeah. And you know what I'm trying to do as well? I'm just trying to look at my team this season. And if I'm going to be watching a lot of games, just ask myself a simple question. Is this a class player? Rodgers, Bruno, Wirtz, Palmer, Watkins, Gyökeres, and Chris Wood, questionable. But as many classy players, just keep it simple.
Vardy, Munoz.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Get as many good players from good teams. Keep it simple. And I think I'm almost there.
I think it's really exciting.
Exciting until shit hits the fan, but we'll enjoy it. We'll enjoy it until then.
But honestly, last season, do you remember when Haaland was banging in the hat tricks and everyone in Haaland was laughing at the people that had Salah? And then suddenly by about game week 8, you were like, how comes they're beating me? Actually, they're not doing too bad.
Yeah, again, I say it all the time, but I never actually try it myself. There's so many ways to play the game, and I'm really looking forward to playing it this way this year.
I don't think we need to do much more on that, boys. Adam, we got any more?
Well, we've just got our teams. If you want to look at our little punts at them,
yes,
we can give you a few suggestions.
We're just both on the same. They're both on the same slide. But so for me, I've got Sanchez plus 4 million on the bench. I've got Frimpong, Porro, Wan-Bissaka, and Virgil at the back, and then I'm stashing United's Heaven on the bench. Palmer, Bruno, Wirtz as my midfield. Ryan Christie sitting on the bench right now. I mean, he's 5 mil, great on contributions. Lewis Cook's out for ages. Like all this sort of stuff's good for him. And then Rodri, just because best player in the world, going to come back. He can just come back in. I mean, I wouldn't want to start him in game week 1, but we'll see. And then Gyökeres, Watkins, and then 7.5 million striker, which is currently Solanke, but could be anyone.
Yeah.
Mark, genuinely, I put this together in about 3 minutes. I was like, oh my God, I've got so much money. This is so much fun.
Isn't it?
It's like, click. I've got it.
It never pops up at the top 0.5 million short, does it?
No, never.
Work it out.
I like it. Do you know what? Go ahead, Adam. Or
you can't. You're like, oh, I could just do this. It's fun.
Yeah, you can play around too much. That's the problem. I'm kind of limiting how much I tinker because you can do anything. And like I said, I don't want to get locked into anything until closer to the time. Just on your team, Adam, how good is it to see Rodri in an FPL draft? I don't think I've ever seen him there. We're going to
It's
see
fun,
these
isn't it?
guys. Idrissa Gueye will probably be in drafts, which is nuts. But again, another player who did well last season, and it's like we're playing the Sky game now with these players appearing.
Well, I'm desperate. I'm desperate to get Rodri back into my classic so rare lineups. I can't wait. So,
Yeah.
same deal. Same deal.
If I need to win the lotto to get a Rodri on Soler.
I think I did. I think I won him. I think that's how I got him. I think I won him. So yeah, I definitely won the lottery on that one. Go ahead with yours, Baker.
I mean, we can start to see some common stuff. Virgil's in all of ours. That midfield three of Wirtz, Bruno, Palmer is the strong midfield three that was through all three of our drafts. We all did Watkins. We all did Gyökeres. So it's that part of we all did those two strikers, which most teams can't afford. That's interesting straight away for me in thinking about what does this offer. So the bits around the outside, I went full defensive contributions. I got Taco and Murillo. I really like those two. I really like that back three. I think whatever I do, I'm really looking to try and get that back three, providing Taco's fit. I've got Njai as my fourth mid, 6.5. And then I've got Jared Bowen up top currently. And then I've got, again, still got very, very, very cheap on the bench. Still got Kinski until I know different. Rodon, which I started warm to Rodon maybe over the old Burnley Steve. I was looking at his clearance. Obviously, he loves to boot the ball. So his clearance numbers look pretty good, and Leeds' defensive numbers. Adam was talking a lot to me about their defences, Leeds and Burnley, rather than maybe the Sunderland ones, and looking at those. So quite like Rodon as that centre back that I feel like is going to boot the ball a bit. Gahey's my current 4.5. Need to see what happens. And my 8th attacker, and there's Adam Wharton. Mark, you put the suggestion out on the Fifth Night podcast of Wharton to have a look at it, and I was just having a look. So this is me without Elliot Anderson, who I love, but because I've got loads of money. But yeah, I was very interested to look at Wharton and was taking set pieces. He took all the corners from one side towards the back end of the season with Eze taking the other, and I'm like 5.0. I don't mind that. I don't mind that as a guy that I could chuck in any week. Not bad.
Yeah, again, just first and foremost, another lovely draft with money well spent and spread across the board. I look at that team and I look at Njai, could be a Declan Rice, or you just got that flashy decision versus steady Eddie pick there.
Rodri.
Front three, yeah, exactly. Front three's amazing, back three's amazing. Like Sales and goal, Palmer, Bruno, Wirtz, 1, 2, 3, easy peasy. Bench, Rodon, I feel like could bandwagon and become the 4 million go-to over the next couple of weeks. So could end up there myself. Gahey could be any 4 or 5, of course. And Wharton, yeah. Wharton, I spent way too long, 2 or 3 hours on the Scout website a couple of days ago, deep diving into defenders and midfielders. And Wharton was one that really jumped out to me. I think he only played 20 games, but his defensive contributions per 90 were above the threshold. What we're looking for, I think, is 12 for midfielders, isn't it? I think he was maybe 12 point something, or I need to double check that. I don't know if it was 10 point something or 12 point something, but it was high. And he takes corners, and he ticks my box of, is he a class player? Yes, he is. I love watching him. And now I can actually consider him for FPL, which is nice. And I thought he'd be 5'5", and the fact that he's 5 is very, very interesting. If I go 3-4-3, I would like my 8th attacker to be Wharton if I need a midfielder, rather than Chiwomi as my 4-5 striker. I think the more I think about it, forwards were so good last season, so reliable, so many bonus points. There's loads of cheap ones. I think 3-4-3 makes sense for what I'm trying to do. And then Wharton would just fit in quite nicely. Maybe a bit more secure long term than a Christie type. Although Christie, was even better for numbers.
Yeah.
Ex-Celtic, of course, always gets a vote there for me as well. So, yeah, but yeah, Wharton, certainly people should have a look at his numbers.
Yeah. I think those 5.0s. All right, Christie, I like it. Wharton, you've got it. Baliba, if he starts playing, more that box to box at 5.0, they're all right. I think the 5.0, if you can, I do think it's maybe a little worth stepping up on the 4.5, albeit we do get transfers in these games. And if you've got loads of players that are priced around 8 million or so, you've always got options. So would you? I still think there is that part probably with a draft like this where you're like, would I likely make the transfer rather than play the guy that just does defensive creation? I think I'd make the transfer because the upside's always likely to be there when the player I'm moving in isn't a £6 million midfielder, it's an £8 million midfielder, it's a £9 million striker and below type stuff.
Yeah.
So
I feel kind of similar. The fact that I like the idea of putting as much money on the pitch game week 1 if you're not bench boosting. And the fact that we now have defensive contributions, it feels like a 4-5 defender as your first sub is enough. And then your second sub can be a Rodon or an Esteve. And then you can have a dead asset as the third one. And like you say, there's loads of transfers. We get up to 5 now. We've got the AFCON ones at some point. So
got to use them.
I'm the same as you. I think money in the 11, 4-5. I think if you're going 3-4-3, I do think it's worth a 5 million midfielder for a sub. But if you're going any other way, I'm not even making sense here. But 4-5 defender is great for a sub. 5 million midfielder for a sub is great as well.
Marvellous.
I think we're there.
Good job.
Yeah, excellent. I think we do need to wrap it up there. I've just found out my car's failed its MOT, so awesome. I need to call the garage back to get them to sort that out before I go and pick it up later. But Mark, mate, absolute pleasure having you on. I'm really excited to see how your team fares this season. Hopefully you do enjoy the season, and hopefully United improve a little bit, but just not too much. That'd be good. That'd be perfect. As long as Bruno can smash it, I guess we'll all be happy because we'll all be on there at some point.
Yeah, exactly. No, thanks for having us, lads. I'll send you across a link as well for the No Salah, No Haaland mini league, and you can drop it in the description for anyone who's watched this and has been inspired to take a crazy leaf out of my book and go without the guys. Loads of people have joined it already, which is great. I know I'm going to have to end up kicking loads of people out who end up
kick them out.
There's going to be so much FOMO, and it's going to give me so much pleasure just kicking Salah and Haaland owners out of the league throughout the season. But yeah, I'll send that across so other people can join.
Just a point on that.
You're just going to go to the league, aren't you? You're just going straight to the league. Get out.
I mean, just a point on that. Just make sure. In fact, no, I'll tell you this afterwards. Otherwise, people will take advantage. I'll tell you this after.
Switch off the mics. Switch off the mics.
Yeah. Cool. Right, guys. Thank you very much. As always, as I say, hit the like button if you enjoy it. Let us know what you think about No Haaland, No Salah, and we will be back again on Friday, I guess.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
See you Friday.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, all.